You're not screen sharing anymore, by the way.
Oh, whoops. I guess I probably minimized it.
So, like, clicking through Windows, like I know that there was a one of these screens that his game up.
Okay. Back on?
Yes.
Okay. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Chamber of Game here on the Leviathyn Network. This is the series of videos we do to walk you through new and upcoming games and talk about them as we show you some gameplay. I am Eric Watson, the PC section editor over at Leviathyn.com. You can follow me on Twitter at RogueWatson. Joining me is my cohort for Chamber of Game, Mr. Chris Renner, our entertainment section writer. Follow him on Twitter at Serial Viewer. Hello, Chris.
Hello, Eric. It's been a while.
Too long, my friend. In fact, it has been over 20 years since we played Shadowgate. Now, this
Right.
actually predates the NES. I think it was a Mac Venture game on an old whatever they called PCs that long ago, like Apple IIs, I think, where it was
one of
just
them,
barely,
yes.
yeah, it was just barely above a text adventure. But I played Shadowgate as one of the very first NES games I ever played, which meant it was also one of the very first video games I ever played, and absolutely fell in love with it. As punishingly difficult as it was, this was an old school adventure game. First person, kind of like those old RPGs, where you moved a square at a time, like those old Might and Magics, except instead of any kind of RPG system, it was just a kind of a point and click, basically. You'd search for objects, pick them up, use them. And then kind of like the old LucasArts games, you interacted with the world using the various verbs. So you could look at things, you could take things, you could use things, you could hit things, you could use things on other things. And to some, that's kind of a nightmare, and to others, we start salivating when we see that. So, kind of a niche genre, and one that has resurfaced somewhat recently in the last... Yeah.
For a solid 15 years.
Yeah, heyday was definitely the 90s. 3D gaming kind of adventure games just couldn't transition very well for the most part. But we had a resurgence of indie games lately. A lot of 2D pixel games are coming back in a big way. People really like that style, and I think adventure games are part of that resurgence to kind of capture a lot of those gameplay moments. And thanks to the magic of Kickstarter, we now have a Shadowgate remake / reboot / new game by the original developers of Zojoi. So what we're gonna do is, and you can see this nice little. The artwork is really amazing. It is not a whole lot of actual modeling. It's kind of all this 2D, almost painting look to it, and this is kind of how the whole game ends up looking, which is a really cool style. I actually really dig it. This is obviously the PC version. This will also be available, I believe, for mobile devices.
Really?
So yeah,
It's not that demanding either, I guess.
Correct. Yeah. Although, I mean, you'd be surprised what mobile devices can run nowadays.
That's true. That is true.
You can see in the settings menu, they actually have one of my favorite things, the retro mode. So you can actually add in the old school transitions, the old text, and the old audio. The audio literally replaces all the new awesome music, which they had the original composer, and unfortunately I am blanking on his name, but the music is absolutely amazing in the original game and is equally amazing in this one. Basically he did everything I want him to, which was keep kind of the basic themes and melodies, but just add this big orchestra behind it instead of it being bleeps and bloops chip tunes. Yeah.
Right.
So that's really fun. They included that. The text, it's just kind of adds a little quill that writes the text in, which is a nice little touch. And then transitions adds a really big, very obvious old school screen wipe to the whole thing, and that sound effect. Brr, brr, kinda we can turn that on, and you can see what that looks like. I'll leave them all blank for now, so we get the actual.
The base game.
Yeah. The help screen. This is actually pretty nice. It's 20 pages of basically just telling you how to play the game. There is a tutorial included, which kind of walks you through the actual game as you go, because back then we had printed instruction manuals, and nowadays this shit's all just built into the game.
Yep.
But this is nice. They give you just a whole bunch of what is an adventure game, and what does retro mode mean, and difficulty levels is actually really important in this game because it's not something they had in the original. And it's something I've started seeing in a lot of really recent adventure games. They add difficulty through some interesting ways. Like some games might make it so you can't see highlighted objects or something if you up the difficulty.
Okay.
If you wanted to really be screen hunting for stuff. Others kind of limit your like hint availability if they have hints built in. This one probably has the most interesting, because it really does change a lot of the game. Torches, which is kind of the in-game time mechanic, burn out faster, higher you go. It actually changes puzzles around. I've played around with a lower difficulty, and like some partial puzzles are solved for you if you actually play on the easier difficulty. So a couple of the puzzles are actually like a gradient. Like you might have to find like 5 objects to solve this puzzle. Well, on Master Mode you have to find all 5. On Journeyman you have to find 3, and on Apprentice you have to find 1.
Gotcha.
Which is really interesting.
So it can break a puzzle down into phases or something.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
a lot
of them are just jumps you to phase 3.
Exactly. There's some really cool puzzle design that allows them to do that on multiple difficulties, and you just have less time to actually beat the game. And there is an in-game hint system on top of all that, and they become more vague and less helpful. So you get this talking skull in a nod to, I guess, Dresden Files and Planescape Torment. And Hamlet, because the skull is named Yorick, of course.
Okay.
And yeah, he just gives you like, basically he mocks you if you like keep trying to do the same thing. He'll just be like, "What are you doing then?" So there is an in-game tutorial, and it just tells you how to do. Here's how to you actually use all your commands. So we'll go ahead and jump in. Oh, another cool thing about a modern game, achievements, which is always fun.
Yeah.
Again, adventure games don't usually have room for achievements. You don't usually not a whole lot of ways of doing things. But this one, because the game, the way they built it, they can do things on kind of like the difficulty, where it's like, all right, we'll beat this difficulty in this many turns. So there's a speed factor. There's uncovering all of the locations. So there's an exploration factor you can do, just find hidden areas.
Right.
Experiencing all the deaths. Shadowgate is obviously very big on their deaths. So I really dig this too, like being able to do achievements, because I feel like one of the biggest minuses on a lot of adventure games, especially ones that are more story heavy, is once you go through and solve the puzzles, that's it. You played the game.
Right.
There's no reason to go back and.
Legends of Grimrock, I did.
Right.
I felt like I beat it. I can just put it away now.
Or like, well, and that one at least is an RPG. You could maybe create different characters if you wanted to.
You could, yeah.
But like, what about like a Myst? Like, would you ever replay that after you've beaten it? Other than maybe like 10 years later, just to
right, exactly. The only reason you would is nostalgia purposes. Like 10 years on,
right,
to revisit it, but not in any sort of replayability sort of way.
So I really like that they add this. Not only the difficulties definitely add replayability, but trying to hunt and get the achievements and actually do really well. There's actually one achievement which sounds like it's perfect for live streaming, is to beat the game on Master Mode in one sitting.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
It sounds like it was designed for like those streamers who were like, "I'm gonna get this achievement," and
yep,
on the stream.
Some of them are just like stuff you wouldn't think about, like finding and lighting every torch in the game.
Wow. Okay.
Some you can't even get in one playthrough, obviously. Win the game without killing any goblins, kill 9 different goblins.
Yeah, yeah.
So how do you deal with that? I don't know. I'd really like this aspect to it. And obviously if it's Steam, they're also tied into Steam achievements, but even if you're getting this through GOG, it does have these are just in-game as well.
That's cool.
It is. So why don't we start with a new game, because this is an adventure game, so obviously very spoiler heavy in terms of puzzles. So I just want to show kind of the very beginning of the game, just to show off the mechanics and how everything works. And if you play the tutorial, they actually solve a few of the puzzles for you also. They really walk you through everything. We're going to turn off tutorial so you can see Apprentice contains the easiest puzzles, most forgiving gameplay.
Gotcha.
Journeyman for casual adventures. I think that's a little condescending, though, if they choose the middle one for casual adventures.
Right.
Like, I've played a lot of adventure games. Am I a casual adventurer? Or, I'd hate to call myself hardcore. This one is for experienced adventurers and closest to the classic version. Contains the hardest puzzles and least forgiving gameplay.
I love that, like, what was a game for 12-year-olds 20 years ago?
Yes. Is now the master.
Is now the highest difficulty.
It reminds me of XCOM. XCOM, yeah. They have, literally, it's called classic difficulty, which is more difficult than normal. And they're like, this
Right.
is what it was back then. Like, that's always the case. Like,
And this was a
yeah.
game for children then. So, how does that make you feel?
I feel like that's always commentary on like how our games have changed too.
Right.
I'm gonna go ahead and skip this nifty little intro.
Hero's journey.
It's actually quite nice. It's just a series of these kind of animated stills to have these nice little
Be these things.
story to it. Shadowgate doesn't have much of a story in general. They added it a bit more to this one. But you're basically just a hero approaching a dungeon, and you have to solve the dungeon.
Right.
It's pretty much all you need to know. So here we have the really cool UI. You can kind of tell it might even be it's kind of built for a touchscreen in a way, because everything is
Right.
accessible. You can slap all these guys. So here is our verb system.
Yeah. Nice.
You can interact with the world through various ways. You also have your own portrait, so you can. Which one thing I actually don't like is if you want to pull a lever, you have to click yourself and then use and then the lever. So it has to
Really?
specifically say you use the lever.
Oh. Are there
can even
instances
hit
where
yourself.
you make other things use other things?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, you can interact with other things. Yeah, use inventory items as well.
So like.
There's a skull on the ground. So, right here in the beginning, this is the entrance. This is way different than anybody that's played the original NES version because you're still looking at a door into the thing, but a lot of this is different. There was not all these skulls above, and already this is different in the difficulties. If you play the lowest difficulty, 2 of these skulls are already in here. So it's like the puzzle is partially solved for you. So obviously you're supposed to
Right.
be finding these skulls, and you can sit here and examine them. Sense of despair fills your soul as your gaze lingers on the skull imprisoned in the archway. See all the various flavor text that goes with you.
So I can't hear the game. Is any of this voiced over at all, or is it all just text?
No, it is all text,
Okay.
but it is accompanied by an amazing soundtrack.
Nice.
So that soundtrack's in there all the time and is very prevalent. I've got it turned down, obviously, for talking over and streaming purposes. But
Right.
all right, so the first thing you do is you pick up the skull that's on the ground, and that's your talking skull buddy, who now becomes a icon, basically.
Nice.
Yorick, if you need help on the quest of yours, just speak to me and I'll give you a hint. So he is the hint system. And he's a sassy skull, like all talking skulls, really.
Yep.
They're sassy. So there's a key on the ground. Let's take that. Pops up and then goes into our little knapsack here. And we've got a knapsack, which is nicely, has different tabs. We have our items. We start off with a dirk. And that is literally all we have. Not the most prepared adventurer. Archive keeps track of notes and scrolls. Outfit is various equipment you find. And then spells, you can probably surmise, are spells that you find. But that is nice that they have the different tabs.
So just FYI, I don't know if you're aware of this. The only time I ever played this game was at your house when I was 13 or 12 or however old we were, and that
Try
was
like 8 or 9 probably.
8 or 9. Okay, and that was like maybe an hour of game.
Okay.
time. So I know very little about this game,
Okay.
the original or this one.
Yeah.
So is there any
That's
sort
why I
of
brought you in.
combat system, or are those spells just pure puzzle based?
Pure puzzle based. So there's no combat system. There are enemies in the game, but they don't act unless you act with them, or there are some rooms where things will kill you if you mess with them.
Right. Very.
If that makes sense.
adventure
And
game.
we'll see some of those. So you can see there's a helmet down here. Thick green roots. Can we take it? Oh, the wet roots slip from your grasp. Let's try using our sword on the roots. Successfully hack through the thick roots. Excellent.
Nice.
Let us take our helmet. Drop the helm into your satchel, and it goes to our equipment slot. And we can use it on thyself. And now it actually appears
Oh,
on the
wow,
portrait up
okay.
here as well.
It actually goes in your dude.
Yeah, and there's several items you find that you need to protect you from various environmental hazards or enemies.
Ah, okay.
That if you do not have those items at the time that you encounter the thing, you will die.
Right.
Let's try and open the door. The door is locked. Let's try and go the door.
Go.
Without another thought, you attempt to walk through the closed door. I I love how it just treats you like a dumbass too. Like if
So
you do dumb things, it will call you a dumbass.
So it actually lets you, like, if you clicked eat on the door.
Oh god, we're gonna try it.
Okay.
Eat the door. Oh, that won't accomplish anything.
Okay. So there is a sort of like.
You know what? I'm gonna.
Oh, you really aren't that hungry. Yep.
I wonder if I can just save. Oops, how do I save? I could quick save. Forgot. Of course, I haven't really done much. Alright, now let's try to eat our dagger.
Are you afraid something bad will happen?
In imitation of several mummers you've seen at the fair, you attempt to swallow the blade. Unfortunately, you only succeed in slicing your tongue.
Oh boy. Alright.
Let's see if we can eat the key. Can't eat that. Alright. I know you can hit thyself.
Which would be
You
pretty
slap
funny.
yourself across your stubbled face. That hurt more than you thought it would. Use dagger on self. After a pause, you rethink your suicidal thought. Alright, so we'll use the key. Turn the key, unlocking the door. Open. So there are a few tedious things, like I just used the key and I also have to then open the door. That is a result of having this verb system.
Right.
That makes it a little more tricky than another game, but it also allows for much more devious puzzle design than a normal adventure game that just uses like context-sensitive cursors or whatever else, to where you can only just, if you use something, it'll interact with it in this way. But this way, you really have to be specific and know what you're doing.
Yeah.
So I can just double-click, and that will actually move me to the next side. Uh-oh.
What's happening here?
Yeah, so this is the one part that's actually voiced. This little red text is what this guy is talking.
Ah, okay.
Contain my growing power. Come if you wish.
This is the bad guy. If you couldn't get that from the glowing red eyes.
Within this living castle
Glowing red eyes are always a clue.
Yep. So he's basically saying, come at me, bro.
Yep.
Saying, alright.
Explore my dungeon.
So we've got torches on the walls. We've got a lever here. We've got a lost-style hatch right here. A low hum of power emanates from within. And then looks like there's something... There we go. You put the sling in your satchel. Now, something many people might not know, but I know, is that you can burn everything that's flammable with your trusty torch. This torch in the lower right corner is basically how they time you. This will slowly burn down. If it ever burns out completely, the screen goes black, and you die. It says, like, the darkness consumes you. Like, you end up, like, tripping over something and dying. Okay. So you are kind of timed. Now, you can use your torch on torches in the room to actually light them up.
Right.
And then you can also take the torch.
Oh,
and now that's a new torch.
It gives you more time?
It gives you more torches, yeah. So I usually just end up taking all the torches instead of just lighting every room.
Right.
That way I can just do it as I need to. So let's use our torch on this rug.
Oh boy. So this is kind of a game that really rewards just...
A lot of experimentation, yeah.
Stuff. Yeah.
You want to be that kind of adventure gamer. It's almost very Myst-like. Like you want to just sit there at puzzles and just suss things out and try what you can. But on the other hand, you are sort of timed.
Yeah, yeah.
So you can't just sit there and do whatever. And there's achievements for beating it in a certain amount of time as well. So.
Right.
Let's try use lever on thyself. Stone slides away from the wall, revealing an opening that holds a key.
Nice.
Let's take the key.
So nothing happens. You have to use a verb before clicking anything.
If you double-click on things, I believe it counts as a look. So you can double-click on everything, and it will examine it for you.
Okay. Gotcha.
Or I think... Let's see. Double-click might just do the most logical thing. So I think it looks on most things. If it's a door, it might try to open, that kind of thing.
Okay.
You can also double-click on one of your verbs, and that way anything I click on will do that verb until I deselect it by right-clicking.
Oh, okay.
So I come up with a lot of little things that make it, you know, as easy as possible, despite the verb system still being a little bit of a pain.
Just sort of replace the tedium of typing that out every time you want to do it.
Yeah. Next room. And Shadowgate is very gothic and creepy, so
Right.
But it's also not all just chambers and things. As you go deeper on, there's just a whole bunch of areas. There's courtyards. You go outside at one point. There's like pits of
Oh, okay.
lava. I mean, it's actually quite varied once you get through it. It's not just
Nice.
like one little castle, and it's a pretty long game. Also, they give you a built-in map, which is another cool thing about modern game design. They have maps now,
Nice.
which obviously looks pretty easy now, but it turns into a spider web of like rooms,
Oh, really?
which is extremely useful to know where the hell and how to get to things.
So this isn't terribly linear. You find yourself backtracking a lot?
A lot, yeah. It's not linear at all. Very few rooms do you complete the first pass through. Like you end up
Oh, okay.
having all
So
these different things.
rooms can have different aspects to them that you can't get to right now, but you come back to later.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, like right now I can see there's this one piece of wall. It says if you examine it, just says a breeze wafts out from behind the altar. The long hallway continues further in the mountain. I can see there's a little bit of a shape here. If I actually select hit,
Oh.
yeah, it opens up a little passage.
Okay. So
And,
is that another room you can go in?
It is. I'm gonna go ahead and save my game
So
for no reason, just cause.
I assume you're quick saving when you're actually playing, but
I should be quick saving. Yeah. You want to be quick saving constantly. This game will kill your ass and
Yeah.
be completely unforgivable about it. So let's just waltz into this alcove.
sure.
Force yourself through the narrow opening and into the darkness beyond. A figure moves within the opening at the back of the grotto. You hear the unmistakable twang of a longbow, followed by the whistle of an arrow. The silver-tipped arrow buries itself to its fletching within your chest. Looking down in shock, you slowly slump to the ground, gurgling a few times. For the darkness takes you. I died,
Wow.
and all I did was enter that room.
All right.
Like,
So-
Great sacrifice shall be
Yeah.
told throughout the land.
and there's the Reaper.
Your great sacrifice. You just got
Yeah.
mowed down by some archer.
So it's not like I even did a dangerous task. I literally just
Right.
entered a room that time, and the game... and that was a test to know if I had a certain item at the time.
Right. It's one of those items.
Obviously, I did not.
So this game, instead of locking you out of some areas,
Or
the
telling
game-
you you're not supposed
or
to be in
telling you
there.
You're not supposed to go that way. The game will just murder you.
It will just murder you. Correct. That is
Alright.
how it teaches you. Yep. Exactly.
It teaches through pain.
There's a skeleton on the ground. Let's hit him. Something about the circumstance of this poor person's death causes you to rethink your action. Can we open him? Ah.
Open his chest.
Your rough handling produces the sounds of crackling bones as well as a piece of parchment, which we can look at in our archive. Contains naught but a faded illustration and 5 words. Seek ye the black axe.
Ooh.
So this is a creepy looking altar. Let's look
That
at the
is.
book. The old musty smell emanating from this book hints at its age. Let's open the book. Something shifts under your feet as you open the book.
Oh no.
Let's see. Oh, Yorick chimes in. Me, you, and a dead castle. Sounds like fun. Let's look at the book. Hey, we got a spell.
Oh.
Most of the language is unintelligible, but one particular word stands out from the rest. Invokin. You see a glyph glowing with power and quickly write down the strange marking in your spellbook. So the spells act as inventory items. You can essentially try to use this spell on anything in the world. And they added command shortcuts exactly like an RTS. I can bind this spell to control 1,
Ha!
and now every
Okay.
time I press 1, it automatically says, use the Invokin spell on what?
Okay. Which answers an earlier question I had, because I saw you, like, clicked into your inventory, selected the dirt, closed the inventory, clicked on the
Yes.
root. I was like, is there a faster? Like, that seems like
There
a...
is. You can
Okay.
hotkey all of your items / spells. Correct.
Interesting.
Yeah, which is also pretty useful, especially for items you end up wanting to try to use everywhere, which is a lot of spells.
But the game, it doesn't tell you what that spell does. It's just Invokin is...
Right, it gives you
All
a
it gives you.
slight hint by, if I examine it, let's see where it is. Your mind glimpses some spectral person at the edge of your consciousness.
Oh, boy.
So that's the only kind of hint, and I've gotten a couple spells in my main playthrough now, and one of them is a hint about like you sense a stone moving or something. So you can use that when you think you need to open something that's a stone wall, and it'll open. So
Okay.
let's attempt to take the book. As you lift the tune from the altar, the earth rumbles beneath your feet. In an instant, the rock floor gives way, tumbling down a long vertical shaft. While the abrupt impact from the landing doesn't kill you, 10 tons of stone from the broken floor finishes the job.
Hey, you were above that stone.
Tales of your
That's
great
true.
sacrifice shall be told.
Oh boy. Okay. So like any little thing could kill you, and there's just
And you know what? It hinted too. As soon as I opened that book, it said
That's
the ground
true.
shifted. So that one at least warned me a little bit.
a little bit of warning. Yeah.
And a lot of these
But,
I
I
know
mean-
of from playing the original game. This is actually that room is very similar.
Oh, okay.
In the original Shadowgate, there's not really this fancy altar, but there is a book on a pedestal, and you can look at it, and that's how you get the spell. But if you take the book, then the floor opens and you fall in and die. So like this concept is lifted directly from the original game. Now in the original game there was no skeleton on the floor. The passage I believe looks slightly different than this. I think, or there might have been a thing on the wall,
Yeah.
and I don't remember if there was a scroll as well. Oh, let's take it. Take the scroll. So you have to open the scroll and then look at the scroll. Seek my obelisk in the acolyte den below the sewers. Well, we know we can't go that way, so we will go this way instead.
Down the hallway.
Yep. Now you start seeing some options.
A bunch of doors.
Yep, and none of them are locked, so you can actually go
Okay.
in all these directions. You can pick up the skulls as well.
One of them
Oh,
looks
that's a bag.
There's a bag. So is there a fair amount of what do you call it? Screen hunting, or is everything you need to click on fairly well advertised to you?
I think they do a pretty good job of making stuff fairly well advertised. It's difficult in some sections because it is a lot of these like grays.
Right.
But I mean, just glancing at this, I knew there was a bag there was a skull, there's some bones,
Right.
and then there's the doors. There's not a whole lot. They usually make it where if something is pretty obvious to look at, then you can indeed interact with it in some way.
Mhm.
If it draws your attention at all, if it's a little carving or something, or just anything,
Right.
then you can definitely examine it. I'll let you pick, Chris. Which way do you want to go?
Let's go through the nasty looking door. The right.
Right one. Yeah, let's actually examine this door.
Seems the most dangerous.
Pitted with age-old rust.
All right.
Find yourself on the shore of a placid underground lake.
Oh,
You know what? While
okay.
I'm thinking about it, I'm going to turn on some of the retro stuff so you'll see
Okay.
transitions and text.
Yeah.
So you'll notice in the text box a little quill will appear now when I examine things. And it like
Yep.
just writes things down, which I think is a cute
Yeah,
little touch.
It's cute. Yeah.
It's hard to tell from the distance, but you think a skeleton chained to a rock. Perhaps you need to get a closer look somehow.
Go swimming.
Should we get a closer look, sir? Don't mind me saving all the time. Let's go.
There can't be anything dangerous in that water. I'd say we
Certainly
stop.
not.
Oh,
Oh dear God.
that looks dangerous.
Something coils around your legs and quickly pulls you under into the depths of the frigid waters. Your air gives out and a dark oblivion takes over.
Oh boy,
Don't go into the water.
that was easy
Tales
enough.
of your great sacrifice shall be told.
I mean, we've only played like 15, 20 minutes, and you can
Died
see,
3 or 4 times. 3.
yeah, there's a lot of ways to die, and a lot of it's just
Yeah.
innocent, like, I'll try this, I'll go to this
Right.
room, I'll go over
Yeah.
here. It's not like I'm putting my hand in a mousetrap or something.
But see, the thing is, I don't feel like it's all. I don't feel like it's even penalizing you. Like you're into the game, this far into the game. Are you wary of dying, or do you just sort of accept it as part of playing the game?
At Shadowgate, I think you have to accept it.
Right.
And the nice thing is, there is quick save available. There's auto saves available. Like it's actually less punishing than it used to be, whereas you had to like manually make those saves all the time.
Yeah.
just because you did not know what freaking room will kill you next. There's the transition.
Wow, that is an old school transition. You're right. I'm not sure what I was imagining, but that
Yep,
is...
that is the exact old NES transition that it used to do.
I'm not sure I would feel the need to have that on. It's...
I only play with that transition on.
Oh really? You like
Oh
it?
yeah. I think that's a great little nod to nostalgia too.
Well, yeah, I'm about to say. I feel like if you have nostalgia for that transition, it's great. Go with it.
And a lot of these areas are the same. So in the original NES game, it did have the skeleton in the middle of the lake. But in that one, you can see a shark swimming in the water, and if you attempt to go over to it, the shark will eat you.
Really?
Yeah.
So they totally changed the creature.
They changed the creature, and they made it so it's more, you can't tell, like, if there's anything in the water, I believe. Although I think if you look at the water, it says there's, like, something moving in it.
Oh, okay.
So some stuff they keep exact, some stuff they keep similar and change, and then other stuff they actually change quite a bit.
Right.
Like, there is no water elemental in the original game.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Let's try to use our sword on it.
Yes.
It dances around because it's made of water.
Try to set it on fire. Boil the
Let's use the torch on a water elemental. Let's see who wins. Whoops. He produces a jet of water that douses the lit torch.
Yep.
Fortunately, let's see if I can get my other torch lit. You stumble about in the darkness as if you were a blind man. Tripping, your head takes the brunt of the fall, and darkness overcomes you. Nope, it killed us. That is how the darkness kills you.
Yep.
You have chosen poorly.
And as
young
any...
dear.
you have chosen poorly. As darkness in a cave should kill you. Just
Yep.
You're not being able to go anywhere.
This is almost a roguelike, except that it has saving.
Right.
But in terms of how much you die, it is similar to that. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
and it's kind of it's this game's particular shtick. Like, it is an adventure game that kills you all the time.
Right.
And it has this back button you actually use because you can't actually transition behind you. There's no way to like click behind you, so you click this giant back button just to move backwards.
When it goes to the room, previous room.
Yeah, and notice the old transitions actually have arrows telling you which direction I went.
Oh, okay.
If you just go forward, it does a different one. If I go right, it does that one. If I go back, it does like that square one.
Okay.
Transitions are amazing. Let's see, what's another example? Let's go...
Yeah, go to that room and then take a look at the map again. I want to see what the map looks like when it starts.
Okay.
flashing.
The tomb room.
The tomb.
Or the crypt. That's probably a better name for it, crypt.
Yeah.
So here's what our map looks right now. From the alcove, we went to the small hall, which has the 3-door, and it has a little thumbprint, so you can kind of tell.
It does. Yeah, you can kind of see what.
There's
it
the
looks
cavern lake. We didn't go through because I had to reload, so would be
Right.
another offshoot here. Here's the crypt. And
like. Okay.
then,
Yeah, so it could get pretty big.
it starts going, yeah. Obviously, this room has its own offshoot here, and then the alcove, once you can survive the goblin, will go this way. So it starts creating the spider web, and it will end up where some rooms will connect to rooms in different ways you didn't know about. You'll have shortcuts and all kinds of crap.
Statues.
It is
Okay.
kind of divided up almost into 3 sections in terms of like there's one room that gets you to this one next huge area of the castle.
Right.
So it is kind of gated with like major puzzles, and the achievements kind of reflect that too. It's like make it to the inner part of the castle.
Yeah.
So you'll know it kind of gives away to different progress. Like you'll actually make it to the inside of, to where it looks like a castle and not like stone.
Right.
So why don't we just start opening all this crap?
Do it.
Whoa!
Oh.
It's a banshee. Now this is interesting. It actually diseases you, and this disease continues to afflict you and gets worse and worse. It kind of makes the whole screen go a little blurry, and it just affects you momentarily, but it adds another time constraint to the game.
How long does that last? I mean, what happens? Like, how do you get rid of it then?
It's
can
another
you?
puzzle. You have to figure out how to cure it.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yep. So don't open this one on the right unless you're Probably near the end of your exploring this area, at least.
Right.
There's a mummy. What should we do to the mummy?
Open him. What's in his chest?
Can we open the mummy? After touching the bindings, decide against it. What if we use our friend Fire? Hey.
Oh boy.
He dropped a sack, which gave us a scroll and a fancy looking scepter. Oh, I don't want to open the scepter, I want to take the scepter. And what's interesting is that some of these puzzle pieces, I know for a fact this scepter is not used until way later in the game.
Oh really?
Yeah, so you'll get a lot of puzzle, you'll get a lot of items, and you just have to not know when you're going to use them.
Huh.
Oh, that's right, I have to open the scroll first. And this just says some creepy shit that actually helps you solve a puzzle. When Majal's tail lights the northern skies and the alignments are in apogee, then shall the water nourish the tree, and the eagle shall fly with wings of fire as it is watched by the all-seeing eye. Some cool shit right there.
Yep, that's definitely some prophecy style stuff.
That's some prophecy shit right there.
Yep.
Let's see if we can open this crypt. Try to open the crypt. However, it is fused shut. Oh, let's try to take the torches. Unlike other torches you've seen in these caves, the torch is welded into a bracket. Okay. Let's try to use ourself on the torch. You yank on the torch, pulling it downwards.
Oh, it's a...
Okay, let's try and move this torch. So ourself, use torch. Can't pull the torch downwards, it appears to be stuck in place. Let's try torch number trace. And there we go, our middle crypt.
Okay.
Has
So
opened
what
up.
would have happened if you had lit the torch you were supposed to pull down on fire?
Let's find out.
I mean, could you not pull it down then after it was on fire?
Torch bursts into flames. I imagine you still could. I mean, it's still got a handle on it.
Okay. I guess my larger question.
Yeah,
is,
I can move it back up.
Oh, you can. Okay. My larger question is it possible to fuck up the game, like to break something so that you don't die, but you can't proceed?
I think so.
You just haven't done it yet.
Well, I haven't done it in this playthrough of this game yet, but in the old game I believe you could. There are potions
really?
you can find that do magic things, and if you just drink them without being at the right place to use it, then you've just consumed that potion, you'll never be able to solve that puzzle.
Right.
Now, I don't know if they've fixed things for this game.
Right.
There is, I'm trying to remember where it is. There's one area I want to show. I think it's in here. Third door. This is the ice room. Yeah. There's a key. Use our torch to melt the ice. Take the key.
Nice.
Basically, the best advice I can give you is use your torch on fucking everything.
Yeah, just light the whole place on
That
fire.
torch is pretty damn useful.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would have thought about that torch, because it's kind of like just your timer, basically, for the game.
Right.
If I hadn't played this game before. That's right, that's not the key to that door. Let's enter this room.
Oh boy.
Yep, that's a dragon.
Oh, it's not.
So here's the thing. He will not do anything until I do something first.
Oh.
Because that's how... Which looking doesn't count as doing something. If I try to take any of these items or manipulate them in some way, then he will act.
Yeah. It's his treasure.
So,
you can't have the dragon treasure.
So knowing that, which of these items would you pick up?
Oh, jeez. The spear, maybe? Or the shield?
Which one?
Oh, there's options? Try the shield.
Well, you can only grab one.
Grab
Grabbing the shield.
And you just die. It doesn't matter.
You know what happened?
What?
We took the shield and put it in our bag. We did not equip the shield.
Oh.
'Tis a sad
You had the right idea.
Okay.
Let's see if the autosave puts us in a better spot.
Interesting. So grabbing it just puts it in your satchel.
Puts us out here. Correct. So again, that's the verb system. Like you have to know.
Right. Yeah, see, that's me thinking in like a modern RPG way, where it's just
Right.
contextual. Like,
So that's the
use
thing is if you,
shield.
yeah, if you tried to do that and then failed, you'd be like, well, how the hell do I solve this puzzle? Well, what you have to do, click on yourself, click use, and then click the shield. So now it says you lash the iron shield securely to your forearm. And then the shield actually pops up,
Okay.
protects you. This room is exactly like the original game.
Really?
There's a dragon on the far screen, and there are several items on the ground, and you have to know which ones to pick up.
Nice.
I know for sure, and what's interesting is you only have a certain amount of bursts from him that shield can withstand.
Right.
Because the shield will eventually melt away. Now, if you start grabbing all the bullshit like bones and shit on the floor and let the shield die before grabbing all your items, that might be a way you can also fail the game, essentially.
Okay, that's what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, so there probably are ways, so I would definitely have multiple saves.
Yeah.
This is a difficult adventure game. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's not, even on easy mode is probably very accessible because they do solve a lot of the puzzles for you.
I wonder if like
And
on
help you
easy
along,
mode,
and they-
if your shield doesn't ever break, that kind of thing.
Could be, yeah. I'd have to try it through all the way through. Let's just try talking to our skull buddy. Better be sure you want my advice because I'll be giving hints next. Sure. Why are you asking me what to do? I'm not the one that brought you here. Go ask him.
Ooh, that's a good hint.
Yeah.
What does the dragon have to say?
The dragon's not the one that brought me here.
Oh.
With all the authority you can muster, you tell the dragon to sit.
Oh, he doesn't care. He's not an intelligent dragon.
No.
He's no Benedict Cumberbatch. That's for sure.
That's for damn sure. Alright, well that's the opening couple areas. And you can see already it starts fanning out.
Okay. Zoom out a
On the
little bit?
map quite a bit.
Yeah, looks like you can.
I can zoom out, yeah.
Okay.
The game is absolutely enormous.
Yeah.
This is just, I believe, this initial area. Maybe it continues on this map. Yeah, this actually game is actually quite huge. The puzzles, I imagine, especially on Master Mode, close to the classic version, are quite difficult. But the fact that it has multiple difficulties allows you to also allows it to be somewhat accessible too. So I would not necessarily caution somebody that's not into adventure games just to skip it because of its difficulty. It does have multiple levels. And I think it's a really great reboot for fans of the original because some of the stuff is exact. Others are made new again or changed slightly differently. A lot of the puzzles are made better that I've played so far. I'm probably only about a third of the way through on my main playthrough right now.
Okay.
But so far, I'm really enjoying it. I mean, full disclosure, I am a Kickstarter backer of this game. I really wanted to see this remake happen. And so far, I am very pleased at the results. This is pretty much exactly what I wanted. The new art style is really great looking. They really kind of owned it with this unique kind of like watercolor painting look, which I think is...
Yeah, it's definitely a style. It looks like artist rendering of
Yeah.
things.
It's all really spiffy looking. The mirror room.
Mirror room, that looks dangerous.
Yep. All these mirrors have things. So yeah, that is Shadowgate, which comes out in a couple days on August 21st, 2014 by Zojoy, and will be on Steam and GOG, and I believe on mobile. I don't know if that's also August 21st or not. But look for my review on the site, leviathan.com. I am Eric Watson. Follow me on Twitter @RogueWatson. Thank you to Chris for joining me for this look at Shadowgate. You can follow him on Twitter @SerialViewer. And that is our Chamber of Game for Shadowgate. Thanks, guys.